Ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Planet M Pitch Competition powered by Techstars is about to begin. We'll be running 3 sessions, approximately an hour between the time frame of 12:30 and 4:30. Come on down and listen to some of the top 17 startups here in automobility, share their technologies and their company vision, and we will at the end announce the pitch winner as well as the 2019 Startup of the Year. right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the 2019 Planet M pitch competition powered by Techstars is about to begin. Please join us at the Planet M stage and we will get the pitch competition underway.
Are you guys ready to pitch? Let's try that one more time. Are you ready to pitch? All right, those folks around this area right now, we have some of the best startups coming over here to pitch their company in application. We've got 3 pitches today. We are going to go back to back to back. My name is John Hill. I'm the VP of Network for Techstars. We are the worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. And we support entrepreneurs. Their journey is difficult, so if you can give them a round of applause as they get on here right now as well. And as they get on here to talk about their companies, absolutely ecstatic that we can talk about the fact that we now have Techstars Detroit, a morph from Techstars Mobility. And for me personally, a huge deal. I'm a graduate of Michigan State University, although I live in Boston now. Go Green. I know we probably have some U of M fans in here. Love you as well. I am so MSU. I met my wife in class there. That's when you can say aw. We got married at the Alumni Chapel at Michigan State University. Both my wife and I worked at MSU for a number of years, and had 2 kids who knew more faculty members than we did when we went to school there. That's not really an awe, but it's still there. But what's near and dear to my heart, about a decade ago, as part of a group that brought the first Ignite, the first Startup Weekend, the first TEDx to Michigan and into Detroit. And to watch how entrepreneurship has really grown here is amazing. And to watch companies get up here and pitch their wares related to mobility is absolutely fascinating. So what we have here today is a pitch competition. We have 5 companies that are going to be getting up. Grand prize is an hour with a Techstars MD and a Techstars hoodie. We're going to do 3-minute pitches. We'll have Q&A with judges afterwards. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Planet M for being here and supporting this stage with us. And right now I'd love to showcase our esteemed panel of judges. I'll have them go down the row, introduce yourselves, and we'll kickstart this competition.
It's on? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Orly Dehan. I'm the Executive Director of Ecomotion, which is a smart transportation community. Today, over 600 startups and 8,000 community members.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Roroff. I am Planet M Operations Manager, and Planet M is the mobility arm for the state of Michigan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Ratliff. I'm a principal on the investment team at Fontanelles Partners. We're a mobility-focused VC based here in Detroit.
Hi, I'm Hannah Pianco. I'm an investor with Story Ventures. We're a pre-seed and seed stage fund based in New York.
All right, thank you, judges. Let's get pitching. First up, Fair. After you.
Hi. Good afternoon. Can you all hear me? Are we good? Okay. I'm Adira Davis. I'm co-founder of Fair, and we are based in New York City. It's my first time out to Detroit. It's been a very informative trip thus far. I'm enjoying myself in all the space you have. But Fair is a direct booking ride-hail marketplace app that tailors the response to what the customer indicates to us you want and what matters most to you. So essentially, we found out that in New York, we have 8 multiple ride-hail companies. No one wants 8 of the same thing on their phone. So I came up with the idea of why isn't all of this in one place where I can choose what I want and be on my merry way in a very quick and efficient and cost-saving time, because I'm price-sensitive as a startup co-founder. So we tested it in the beginning, and people were like, oh, this is great, and but it was like deep linking, and you still had to have the other apps on your phone, so it was just really ineffective. So we came up with, how do we become more than just an aggregator, which is just like what some of our competitors do, just least expensive to most expensive. How do we personalize this new and improved thing that's happening in the world, ride-hailing? So we came up with when you download the app, we're going to ask you right away, what matters most to you? Are you price sensitive? Are you time sensitive? Do you need a car seat? Do you need a wheelchair accessible vehicle? Do you need an SUV because you're out partying with your friends or you got a lot of people going with you? Based off of that, off of your preferences that you give us, we then provide that information to you directly. So it's very efficient and it's streamlined. Of course, you can see everything if you want, but thinking ahead, in New York, we have 4 to 5 companies on a platform. You're going to be at 20 options on your phone, and the consumer's going to be like, never mind, to hell with it. I'm just going to use whatever I've been using. So we came up with this option. We're in a private beta, which is great. It's been working out so far as a new algorithm, new design. We are currently raising our seed round, which is $850,000 with about 10% committed at this point in time. And we are partnering with Walmart in the coming months in Q2 to test with their associates in three states, Michigan one, Arkansas, because everybody has to go to Arkansas when you're partnering with Walmart. In Bentonville, this should be interesting, and in Austin, Texas. So that will be because they have a very difficult employee retention problem. We came up with a really cool proposal for them to help alleviate some of that cost. And their competitors that are on their heels as the world's #1 retailer. So essentially, that is what Fair does. We integrate with large partners when we release in the next month publicly, we'll be integrated with Amazon Rewards for our consumers so that it makes sense for you to use Fair and use one simple app to get to where you need to go. And that is basically Fair in a nutshell. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. All right, judges, time for your Q&A. Start the clock, guys.
I guess I'll start because I have the mic. Can you talk more about your customer acquisition strategy beyond the partnerships, or I guess if that's the primary way?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, for our B2B, since it's we look at it B2B, B2C, and B2G because of what we're able to capture with our data insights, because we now know what the customer is saying that they want, and then often, what people say they want and what they actually do are not necessarily in alignment. So we're more on the back end. It's like more of an efficient marketing stream for the companies that are on our platform, and it's part of our revenue model. But we are partnered with universities as well in New York. So we have partnerships with CUNY, which has 234,000 undergrad, Columbia, and NYU, and looking to go that route from an administrative level. We tried the kind of like student group level thing, but students are everywhere. So we wanted it to be more concentrated and more structured. So we've established with like student services, the heads of the different departments to help us with the acquisition of that. In addition to like smart social media integrations, and with micro influencers, big brand influencers don't really work because people don't trust them. But micro influencers, those who have about 3,000, 4,000 followers, has a very large effect on getting new customers and that repeat customer and so on. People trust it. So that's been our way of getting large groups to utilize the app thus far, as well as the B2B as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So sort of two-part question, I guess. One, maybe just talk about your business model or where you're earning. Are the users paying for that convenience, or the services that you're connecting them with giving you a slice of their revenue? And then the second part of that is, how are you convincing all the different ride-hailing companies and so on that you're a good idea and you're not end up taking business away from them by connecting their existing customers potentially with their competitors? Or what's the pitch to them when they say, I don't want to share my users with you?
Great question. Our revenue model, it's twofold. So we do charge the consumer 50 cents for each each ride booked via our app, and we charge the companies that are on our platform 50 cents for each ride booked via our app. So in terms of convincing them, that is usually the hardest part, and is the biggest challenge in terms of the smaller ride-hail companies, not the big ones. We have Uber and Lyft. Everyone always asks me, how'd you get Uber? They don't, I got an engineer on a good day. That's just all I can really say. We submitted what we submitted. They said okay. But for them, it's more like an efficient marketing tool because it's a very competitive space. Yes, it's growing. It's projected to grow like 8% compounded annually over the next 10 years. However, with all of these, especially for the smaller guys, you have to get the meetings with the CEOs, which is always challenging. And then once you get the meeting, it's more so showing them that, hey, you are up against a company or companies that are extremely flush with cash, and you don't have the revenue, and people don't know about you. Like when we did our surveys with users, they're like, who is this? And no one wants Five, but if you give that to them, then it's like, oh, okay, I'll use that. Because especially in New York, 1 in 20 are millionaires. Everyone's not cost sensitive. So it's like, oh, it's a better experience, it's a nicer ride. I'll take that, but I'm not going to download it if I don't have to. So they saw how that worked, and then the marketing, the efficient marketing, and seeing who is choosing you, why they're choosing you, when they're choosing you, at a fraction of the cost. When you're spending $100 per customer every 3 months to make sure that user keeps coming back and using your app, it's the 50 cents is like, okay, a no-brainer. And the efficient marketing, we offer like blind summaries for a cost as well. So that's what's worked with Juno and Curb. Working on VIA, but yeah. So.
Other than Lyft and Uber, did you get any other companies to share their APIs with you?
Yes.
Which ones?
Curb and Juno. So we only ask for direct booking APIs, so that's another reason why it kind of takes a long time. Our competitors are utilizing deep linking. We already tested deep linking. We know it does not work. It's inefficient. You still have to have other apps on your phone. So we're like, no. We're like very adamant about it being a direct booking API only. We're working on VIA. We have Ride Austin for Austin. And yeah, we try to move in cities where they have at least 3 ride-hail companies. And there's 20 in the United States.
And I can connect you to VIA, 1. And 2, do you look at expanding that to kind of a mobility as a service platform for also Bird and Lime and like
Yes.
other things? Then I can choose my way of going. From one
Yes,
place to
depending
another.
on the city. Like, well, for New York, it doesn't because they're banned. Like Lime, Bird, scooters is a no-go. But other cities, yes. Being out here is really informative for me. As I said, it's my first time, and I'm like, oh, okay. This makes a lot of sense why you have these scooters. Yeah. All the space. But yeah, so definitely, we wanted to really master the ride-hail space because for some odd reason, it's new, but it's not really new. One of those things, and just getting people that brain switch to realize that there's all of these various options and that they can use them in like one particular, same way you book a flight, like just making that a habit and then introducing these other avenues of travel without overwhelming the consumer, because we found that with so much information, the consumer sometimes is like, whoa,
Yeah.
I'm not using it. Conceptually, it's an amazing idea, but in real life, it's like, nah, I don't want it, So yeah, so that's kind of like how we're going about it.
And any plans to integrate with public transportation? Are you
Oh,
working
absolutely.
with municipalities?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, in Q2, we're going to do it in a very seamless design way because we don't want it to be visually overpowering. But with public transportation, absolutely. With Google Maps and MTA in New York City, because they have just horrible problems. And then we understand that you guys have some very interesting issues with public trans out here. And I've taken it since I've been here, so yeah, I see. Experienced it, so yes, absolutely.
All right, put your hands together for Fair.
Thank you.
I'll give the judges a few minutes or about 30 seconds to tabulate your scores. Keep it quick. These companies who are coming up here, they need support by network to grow and scale. Some of the people in this room, some of the people paying attention right now can help them. If you can grab them afterwards, if you can help support them in some way, shape, or form, as simple as an introduction or advice, that would be phenomenal. It's something that we try to support in our network through this idea of give first, which is I'm open to helping any other entrepreneur out without any idea of quid pro quo, that I get something in return for that. So please be supportive of this entrepreneurial ecosystem as you go. Judges, good to go? Next up, Phantasmo.
Hey everybody, my name is Jameson Duttweiler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Phantasmo. So today's geospatial services, in particular map data and positioning solutions, lack the resolution and accuracy needed for emerging mobility applications. Specifically, GPS today works very poorly in urban environments, and as we've seen things like dockless bike share and dockless scooter share emerge, these applications are actually not scaling in a capital efficient way because they tend to lose them because the GPS is inaccurate. The only really scalable solution to actually building better maps and positioning is through using computer vision. And so what Phantasmo has built is a solution to map cities quickly and efficiently and then enable 10-centimeter median accuracy visual positioning all around any area that's been mapped. What this means is that we can then identify whether a scooter is not only parked on a sidewalk, but that is actually parked in the specific area of the sidewalk where it's supposed to be. So our company is about 4 years old now. We're 10 people. We're doing 50K MRR in private enterprise implementations of our technology and are now moving into pilots with micromobility companies to start to build an outdoor data sets, which we are designing actually as a data share model. So the mobility applications are actually not the customers, they're the data inputs. And we retain the rights to then take that data and license that and derived information back to municipalities, insurance companies, hedge funds, et cetera, that might want to access that data. So that's Phantasmo.
Judges?
Can you just talk a little bit about how you're actually collecting the mapping data and building that? You mentioned some of the mobility partners supply some of that input, but maybe like a real world example of what's going into your,
Yeah, so we can kind of accept multiple inputs, so both 3D data from LiDAR and other devices as well as 2D imagery. We have a custom-built backpack solution that we use to kind of typically create like a base map for an environment, and then it becomes basically self-updating. So by nature of using the service, if a scooter has a camera attached to it and it sends an image, which is subsample down to a couple hundred kilobytes, it comes back to our API. We then send back the 6 degree of freedom location back to the scooter itself, and that image is then able to be used to stitch back into the map and actually update the map from the client applications that are operating in that environment.
Can you talk a little bit about the competitive landscape and your defensibility strategy?
Sure. So the competitive landscape, sort of the big player is certainly Google, is doing a very sort of centralized proprietary approach and hasn't demonstrated anything in the market yet outside of a couple tests in like Home Depot and other places that were done publicly. The strategy has shifted significantly there. Unclear what the business model looks like, and certainly very few. There's not really anybody that wants Google to dominate that. Basically, this is something that's going to replace what is a public service. It's actually a utility. So GPS is considered is a utility. It's maintained by the federal government. You have a number of startups in this space as well, all of whom are taking sort of various approaches, but nobody who's really scaled out yet. Most of those companies are treating these as sort of a paid service. You're doing a paid per API call, which if you look at the economics of most of the applications in here, doesn't work. It's really about the data itself that matters. And ultimately, our thesis on this is that sort of the next generation of geospatial services is actually going to look like market-driven utility. And so we're designing our solution in that way, and ultimately allowing sort of the various stakeholders to take control of the data and have inputs into it so that you are really designing this as a public service more than sort of a proprietary centralized solution.
It's just one more. How do you deal with areas where like the sort of data gets stale or is unmapped, or you don't have a partner? When you have partners like that don't want to purchase the data or use the data in a neighborhood that you're not in, or how do you manage that?
So it's not implemented, but we're implementing a bounty system actually, where if there is demand for an area that's unmapped, then that's actually pushed out to the network, and people are notified that there's actually desire for that data, and then you'll go out there. Our primary focus today is in urban areas, so you have a lot of density. We're in Venice, so we're 5 blocks from Bird's office. Those scooters are basically covering a significant portion of the areas that matter multiple times a day, if not in some areas, dozens of times per hour.
All right, thank you, Phantasmo. Judges, do your tabulation. So I always love visual representations of what entrepreneurship is like. I used to work at a little company called LinkedIn. Some of you guys might be aware of it. And Reid Hoffman had a saying that being an entrepreneur was like jumping off a cliff and trying to assemble the plane before it hit the ground. So you can imagine how difficult this is to lift a company up. Our next company up is Zapix.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christian, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Zapix, XAPIX. We started with the technology and then essentially found the use case in the automotive industry. What we focus on, essentially, as a B2B enterprise solution, is orchestrating data, orchestrating partnerships between automotive companies, suppliers, insurance companies, and whoever they want to partner with. So we started working last summer with a small company in Germany called Daimler. Within Daimler, the trucks division. And one of the key challenges they had was that, which actually is a challenge that all automotive companies have today, they might build different vehicle models, and they want to make that data available to their partners, let's say to insurance companies from those vehicle models. Unfortunately, if you have, let's say, 20 different models in your OEM, you have around 20 different data models behind all of these cars. So the cars on the data side look as different as they might look in terms of color in that sense. So that is a huge amount of complexity. Daimler had that challenge, and they started leveraging our product, which is in production now in around 200,000 vehicles, to distribute the data from the vehicles to the owners of fleets, to insurance companies, and to transport services providers, such that they can do driver behavior analytics, route optimization, and offer usage-based insurance, for instance. Zappix, in that sense, consists of two elements. One is really an enterprise tool, a data orchestration tool at the core that's in production today, and this runs all across the cloud, on-premise, and potentially at the edge, so even on the vehicle in that sense. And we're launching a new product this year, which essentially is, you could say, a marketplace-y layer on top of that, which enables not only the big companies, but also a lot of the startups here to interact with the vehicle data at scale. We help them reduce the complexity, help them access that data. We have quite some significant competitors in our space, companies like Autonomo, for instance, which we very much share the same vision with. But we think the approach of being a data aggregator in the middle is not the right one for the industry. So we're advocating a decentral approach, which is enabled by our technology to really cross-link data across partners and thereby offer open new product opportunities and new revenue opportunities. We're a team of 11 full-time employees across San Francisco and Berlin, just closed a $2 million seed round, and are ready to strike our first partnerships in Detroit. Thank you.
Judges?
Maybe just to start, could you describe a little bit about how you touched a little bit on the difference between you and Autonomo, but are you guys effectively translating the data from those two different models into one language that a startup could go use for something, or how does that work? What's the output that you're delivering a startup or a partner that's buying that data, an OEM customer, or when you're taking data from 20 different makes or models?
Sure. So at the very core today, we're delivering a data integration, a data orchestration layer that can run, for instance, in Daimler's IT environment and their ecosystem. And they will use it themselves to orchestrate some of their internal data to clean it up into a nicer looking API. And they can use that not only for vehicle APIs, but also, let's say, for plugging customer data, weather data, and so forth. And that's where the second part really comes into play, because it's not only about orchestrating internal data, but it's really about bundling and mixing that with external data sources. And that's where, in that sense, these type of adapters come into play. So we talked to one of the startups here, IntelliTire, this morning. They have a fantastic tire solution, but it would be a lot more valuable if they could add telematics data to it. With the use of our tool, they're able to not only build their own API, but directly tap other vehicle data, let's say from Mercedes or GM, directly into that pipeline and create a bundle which for their customers is a lot more valuable.
Can you talk a little bit about pricing and the business model generally?
Sure. So pricing, I'd say, at an early stage of a company, obviously, always is evolving. For the product that's in production today, we have a license-based business model. So our customers are running a certain number of instances, basically computed by usage. And the more they use it, the more they pay. And they have licenses around that. For the API integration piece, which we're launching, that will more be based on a transaction-based component.
Just to make sure I understood correctly. The OEMs don't need you to extract their API. They need you to create this platform so their data can speak to all the other datas, right? And integrate that.
So they don't use us, let's say, to get the data today physically off the vehicle into their cloud, but they would use us in their cloud to actually, first of all, clean up the shop and then make those APIs available, for instance, to partners. Whether that is as a modern API or also as a legacy service. Sometimes we see that a lot with Daimler, but also with BMW, who we also work with in Germany. Insurance companies on the other end might not always have the latest technology stack, so they need us sort of as the, let's say, Google translator of data and services in between, to actually serve them with something called SOAP web services, so an older technology standard.
So you help them see the data that they want to see, and the insurance companies pay you on one hand and the OEMs on the other as well?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Zappix. All right, by a show of hands, how many of you are from the state of Michigan? So, I grew up in Lake Orion, so it's always awesome to be back. I live out of state now, but I try to make it back here 4 or 5 times a year. I actually work with the Desai Accelerator, Concur Accelerator at U of M and MSU as a mentor, so I get to come back quite often. How many of you are outside the state of Michigan? Thank you for making the trek out here. Totally appreciate it. It's incredible to see representation from all over the world. So next up, company Deep How.
Hello, Detroit. Please meet AI Stephanie. My name is Sam Singh. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DeepHow. So DeepHow is the first AI solution for the skilled trades know-how capturing and training. My co-founder Patrick and I recently visited an automotive factory. It's a brand new factory. Hundreds of robots are busy assembling cars from the beginning to the end. But these robots were built by humans like Bill and John. Bill is a master technician, spent 40 years on the shop floor to build up his experience. John is an apprentice. Like any other millennials, grew up with no production skill and also learns very differently. He doesn't like to read all these paper manuals or instruction. He would prefer to go to YouTube to look for how-to video if he needs to learn anything. And in fact, Bill is retiring soon. In the United States alone, 3.6 billion of Bills are retiring every year, and their knowledge is not effectively captured and transferred to jobs, the millennials. On the one hand, there are 7 million jobs out there unfilled due to lack of skilled workers. On the other hand, the 6.2 million of millennials are looking for jobs. This is a serious skills gap. And that's why we created DeepHow, trying to close this gap. And the core of our solution is an AI system, Stephanie. She will capture expert Bill's know-how and workflow via video. She will analyze it, index the video, and then extract the step-by-step workflow guidance. And everything will be stored online. So John can interact with Stephanie anytime, anywhere, at his own pace. We do have a quick video clip. Maybe we can play a little bit. John logs in and selects a video. He sees all steps and picks one. To find an object, he can say,
Stephanie, show me bleeder valve.
and to find a task, he can say,
Stephanie, show me how to calibrate.
or to ask for more information,
Stephanie, show me diagram.
or to change a language, he can say,
Stephanie, speak Spanish.
Transportadores E1 para el funcionamiento a la derecha.
with our unique solution, so enterprise can effectively capture the experts' know-how and deliver engaging learning experience to millennials. So our founding team has 2 PhDs and 1 product guy. And we have been working in Siemens for the last decade together. And seeing this is a great opportunity, we started Deepal last July, moved to Detroit, joined Techstars Mobility. And since then, we have attract lots of customer traction. So our market segment including 3 parts. Large enterprises, so we're working closely with Siemens, with Ford. We're also working closely with small and medium-sized business like Detroit Bikes,
Hey, Sam,
Detroit Feast.
You're over, bud.
Okay.
Judges?
Thank you.
Just quickly about the pricing model, please.
Sure. So you'll be SaaS, the model, software as a service model. So we're working with the large enterprise. And in fact, they prefer yearly contract instead of the typical monthly contract. So we're doing the tier pricing. Depends on the size of the factory they have. And so the exact pricing, of course, depends on the specific requirements they have.
And are you looking at future positions?
Our future position?
Yeah, because manufacturing lines are going to shift as well with the vehicles.
So first of all, we see our application. It's not just limited to the manufacturing and all the traditional manufacturing. In fact, most of our customers, now they need to, they already upgrade their manufacturing to advanced manufacturing.
Exactly.
There's a lot of reskilling, upskilling needed, dealing with robots and all these. And of course, also even autonomous vehicle need to be repaired. So you still need human to do that part as well.
Please speak to the AI and tech side of things. So for example, how does Bill train Stephanie?
Sure. Great question. And in fact, as you all know, AI has really advanced a lot in the past several years, and particularly with the deep learning. And we are using the latest deep learning technology and natural language processing, also computer vision. Like we, as humans, we look at the video, just like millennials, right? They're looking at the video, they understand how things are being done. And in fact, if you read the paper, actually it would be a lot more difficult trying to understand. And we develop our AI Stephanie, similar like human. We're trying to go through all these lengthy video. But we all, as humans, we don't want to go through, like YouTube, you go there, 30 minutes video, it's very tedious to go through. And AI Stephanie will go in and try to index and analyze all the video, extract the most important information, present as a step-by-step guidance to learner.
So it does feel like a heavy lift, right? And like very lengthy process. So how is this being received by, say, a medium-sized company or smaller company in particular who might not have the resources, time, team to build it out?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, you see, we think our solution is particularly actually attractive to all these small and medium-sized business. And in fact, so for big companies, normally they will have a big department trying to do learning and training and then trying to capture experts' know-how. But for small and medium-sized business, they're busy working. So, but they still need to capture Bill's knowledge. So that's why our solution can come in, and particularly with the advancement of the technology, we can help them effectively capture their know-how.
How do you address just the really sort of edge cases that I would imagine are the ones that people are generally asking the most questions for? So the day-to-day job, they can learn pretty quickly.
Sure.
You probably don't need Stephanie, but it's those really random things that happen in someone over years of experience.
Good question.
How do you make sure that's in the system?
Good question. So we are definitely building a learning platform. And in fact, we're redeveloping the learning platform. Almost you can think it's like YouTube for enterprise, YouTube how to video for enterprise. So the enterprise, as long as they keep working, we're trying to record their experts' know-how and then build up that kind of knowledge. And then we also create, this is a learning platform, so that people can also pose questions, and then the expert can start answering a question just normally again. So in the factories, if someone runs into any situation, he doesn't or she doesn't know what to do, often you ask around to see who has done it. But now with our technology, right, even if it's not in the platform and someone if answered it, we can capture and share that kind of know-how.
What's the process for ensuring that the content is kept up to date, as the jobs might change a little bit or change a lot?
Yeah, great question. And in fact, so again, going back to it's a platform, and we're leveraging the social network piece as well, and gamification. So then people can really rate and then curate the content together. And of course, we'll also leverage all the experts, because this, again, is for the enterprise. And then we can leverage the experts, to make sure those contents are up to date. And just like, again, nowadays, so companies will keep lots of manuals, and they will need to keep up to date as well. So there's a process for doing that.
All right, thank you, Deepak.
All right, thank you everyone.
All right, judges, tabulate. So the great Will Ferrell has a quote that I absolutely love. If you're not first, you're last. And we have our last pitch coming up right now. So please welcome Bussy.
Hi everyone, my name is Louis Bookoff. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bussy. And what we do is we develop intelligent solutions for operators and organizers to streamline the booking and management of trips, events, and other services. So if anybody's booked a charter bus trip before, you'll find that it's a really tedious, manual, and offline process. Myself and my two other co-founders, Josh and Brady, were booking numerous charter trips in college, and we were always frustrated when it came to actually going through the process. And what we found is, and in an age where everything is online and at our fingertips, it didn't sit right for us. So we went out to the industry and started talking with operators, and what we found is this industry does not have any technology. And they were experiencing a lot of the same frustrations we were experiencing as bookers on their side of the booking process. So in working with operators, we developed our Range platform, which brings charter bus operations and inventory completely online and gives them the ability to offer instant booking to their customers. Currently, we're working with Trailways of New York, which is the largest operator in the Northeast, and they're also an innovator in the industry and part of a larger network of 70+ operators called the Trailways Network. Due to our really close-knit relationship with Trailways of New York, we've been able to speak with this network numerous times and have discussions around scaling our technology after our beta tests throughout the entire network. In an effort to do things that don't scale, our team actually picked up and moved to Kingston, New York, the site of Trailways New York, to be in the trenches with them throughout our entire beta test and make sure that we're supporting them in any way possible. But it goes beyond just booking charter buses. We actually believe we can create a group travel ecosystem by leveraging the data of when and where consumers are traveling as groups, as well as the operational and fleet data of our partners, and create in total group travel mobility, allowing groups to book from start to finish every single aspect of their trip. It's really important in a tight-knit industry to build relationships. So next week, we are attending the American Bus Association and meeting face-to-face with operators from around the world. In addition to just attending, we've been able to develop tight-knit relationships with the actual industry and the president, Pete Pantuso, and they're so excited that we are bringing fresh faces and new technology to an industry that hasn't experienced any before. Thank you.
Judges?
What are the tailwinds? Why is now the right time to start your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, a lot of this industry is really family-owned and tight-knit, and they collaborate together. But in the past, they've kind of rejected technology because they were scared. But now they kind of see it as a means to survive. With everything else coming into the mobility and travel space, especially with the consumer side of things and charter buses when you book the entire bus, they really kind of see that as the future as other modes of transportation for individuals decreases in costs and allows those types of groups to take those. So charter is the future of the industry, and they kind of see it as a means of survival now. So they're more open to it.
Can you talk a little bit about your competition? Are there other startups out there like you doing similar things? And then what about the larger charter buses that could, in theory, offer more routes or some more technology or flexibility?
Yep, absolutely. So in terms of the other startups, so we're the only fully integrated platform for charter bus booking, meaning that we're integrated directly into these companies' inventories and control the brain. The other startups out there like Buster, there's Skedaddle, they're in a way lead aggregators, meaning they're not actually integrated into the inventory, and in that way it creates inefficiency from the actual charter bus operator end of things. So as a consumer, you might say, oh, that's great, I can get a quote and book this. but then they go out, and, like other lead aggregators, and they try and find a trip to match you with. And this frustrates operators because they have no say in the pricing. And at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, the consumer contacts the operator, not the lead aggregator. So they've kind of pushed that model away a lot, and they're excited that they can control their own brand and offer this great experience to their customers.
So is this more focused on leisure travel?
Group travel. So there's only one way to move large groups of people, and that's by charter bus. So in a lot of ways, there's this inelastic demand where people are automatically going to Google and saying, charter bus in my area. They find a phone number, a manual form, really, really manual process. And so, I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Just in talking about just the type of
Oh,
travel,
yes.
also market opportunity, and even working with, I know, kind of the idea of travel agent is a thing of the past, but
Yep.
is there opportunity there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So our platform is also an API, and we see, and in creating this group travel ecosystem, we see API as a service as a potential opportunity for us, working with other carriers in the transportation space that maybe offer consumer services. But we also see that we have a competitive advantage owning that brain of consumer data, when and where they go, as well as that fleet data. We think we can compete in that space as well if we want to go at it alone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bussy, thank you. All right, judges, these are your last tabulations, and then we will choose a winner for the application pitch competition. We have another pitch competition coming at the end of this, about 10 minutes afterwards, on technology. And be sure to stick around. We have another group of great companies that are going to be up here pitching. If all of the founders that pitch their companies could come up on stage real quick. So that's obviously a difficult thing to do. How many of you have cold called before? How many of you have pitched before? Right? Pitched a company? It's not an easy thing. And so please give all of these companies a big round of applause. So what I'd love for you to each do, your name again, where you're from, and why you became an entrepreneur.
My name is Adiro Davis, and I'm from New York. And I became an entrepreneur because I like difficult things. I like challenges. It's the most challenging. Worked in international affairs, and that's really challenging too. But this was a little less depressing. So I went with the entrepreneurship.
Hi, I'm Christian from Germany originally, but live in San Francisco now. My background is more from the enterprise world, so I worked for Lufthansa, then moved a little bit towards the startup world to Uber, spent some time there, and then decided that the timing was right. We had a hackathon project back then, which had about 7,000 users. We thought there's something to it, and we joined Techstars in New York. And decided to start building a team, building a company, and now scaling that up for the broader automotive space.
Hey there, I'm Jameson Detweiler, CEO of wrong company, Phantasmo. It's my last company, and I'm in Los Angeles. And I do this just because I feel like I have to, and I'm building companies is all that I have ever wanted to do, and that's what I do.
Hi, my name is Sam Singh. I'm the CEO, co-founder of DeepCow. Originally from China, lived in New Jersey for 15 years, just moved to Detroit and love the city here. And so me and our team, we have 3 co-founders here. We are really excited, and we certainly welcome you to join us to transform the skill trades, learning and training. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Louis Bookoff. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Graduated college 2 years ago and worked in finance for a year, but really decided that, originally when I was young, I wanted to be a doctor and help people and impact people, but with entrepreneurship, you can impact people at scale in incredible ways, so it's all I've ever wanted to do since I was a little kid, and I'm happy to be doing it with Bussy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I have the winner in my hand, so I'll have all of the founders exit stage left. And our first pitch competition, we will have a trophy sent to the winner. We have an hour with a managing director from Techstars, and we will be providing a Techstars hoodie, all good prizes. So the winner is Zapix.
Thank you so much. That already makes our first trip to Detroit very successful, or at least we're off to a good start here. More important than winning competitions is obviously what do we actually take out of like an event like this and an opportunity like this. If you feel like, as John said, that there might be people in your network, you personally, you're excited about the technology, we're always looking for people to join the team, the right investors to support the company, and obviously fun people to work with which can get value from what we've built and help them really scale in the market. I would love to do that. Thank you.
Congratulations. So we're going to have the next pitch competition in about 10 minutes. It'll revolve around technology. Thank you, judges, for being here. Thank you for paying attention. We will be right back.